I came to realize that most of the times we are super stressed because we are looking at the bigger goal. We are not breaking down our problems into small problems. So over time, what I've been trying to do is breaking down my stress triggers into small problems. So if I'm really frustrated, maybe thinking about what next, or like those kind of stresses, I'm always like, why am I really stressed? Maybe I'm thinking about my future. Okay, thinking about your future is so broad.
Big,
So what is it in my capacity right now that I can be able to tap into to be able to get a solution or move out of this? Hello everyone, welcome to Balance It podcast. Balance It is a platform that empowers young men and women to live a purposeful life. We help you navigate through the challenges of life and gain stability in all your spheres of life.
We engage in conversations relating to purpose-driven living, health, fitness, entrepreneurship, and anything related to lifestyle.
Our massive transformative purpose is transformation through wellness.
If you like this episode, make sure that you subscribe and share it with your family and friends. I am Gertrude Nasike.
And I am Eda Onyoni.
Welcome back to the Balance It podcast. In this episode, we're going to discuss about stress. We're going to look at the ways we can manage stress, what stress is to us, and also the practical tips, and just to assess, is stress really helpful at times?
Yes, and definitely we'll have to begin with understanding what stress is. What is stress in your own definition?
I would say mental frustration. For me, I would just say stress is mental frustration. And it's just like when your mind is kind of in chaos or full of things and you just can't see clearly, or you don't have clarity in it.
I agree with you. I also use the word frustration as well. So just frustration.
Okay, nice. And now that we've put that out of the way, at least we now know what we need to manage.
Yes.
Would you take us through like some of the sources of this stress? Yes.
Stress is actually very relative with everyone.
True.
Because something that you might deem stressful might not be stressful to me. Or maybe I have overcome, like I have already gone through that process and now it's no longer a stress to me. So let's just put it out there that stress is very different with everyone. And we cannot demean that whatever you're stressing about is not stressful to me.
True.
Yes, so with that understanding, some sources of stress, just from the smallest things. Let me say, if somebody is a student, you need to do exams. Exams might stress you. Or you had an expectation about somebody. Expectations.
I wanted to put that.
Yes, you had an expectation about somebody and they did not meet your expectations. It gives you stress. You were supposed to meet somebody at a specific time. They didn't come. You will feel stressful in that specific moment. Maybe you are expecting maybe a scholarship opportunity and it does not come. Like there are so many sources of stress, especially when we are doing life. There are so many sources of stress that we cannot be able to talk about all of them here.
I really like the way you brought out the aspect of expectations, because for me, I would actually now summarize it as that, like having expectations or anticipating something, it can be in any sphere of life, in whatever we are doing. So the fact that we have expectations for something or someone and then they are not met, you kind of get disappointed, and with this disappointment comes frustrations in our minds, and this kind of now builds up stress. And another thing to add on what you said is maybe worry of the future. What next? Like not knowing what to do next. Another aspect can be comparison of yourself or your journey with other people's journey. It can also be a source of stress in any sphere of life or in anything that we are doing. So these are just some of the sources or breakdowns that I can say might be sources of stress, especially just as you've said, as we do life. Yes.
And just on to add onto that, I've just thought that then if we are talking about all these things, then it means there are sources that come from internally and there are other sources that come from external environment based on the people that we interact with, the environment that we are in. And there are some stress we can be able to control.
Yes.
There are some stress that we cannot be able to control. Maybe they are beyond our control. And most of the stress that we can be able to control are the stress that are coming from within. Exactly. And I think that is somebody people should actually get to understand, because you might be very stressed and you really don't know why. But it is because you have not done the inner consultation to see that actually I am stressed because of these and these, or maybe I did not meet my own expectation, but you are putting that stress on somebody else because that is the person that you can be able to see around you.
That really makes sense. That's so powerful. And this brings us to the question, is stress really beneficial at times? Because let's say growing up, or there's this stereotype that we have, like stress means your mental health is just bad, right? Like it's not in a good position, you're not okay, maybe you're not at what you would deem ideal in terms of your mental well-being, right? But I'm thinking, is stress at times beneficial to our lives?
I think it is, to be honest, because I'm looking at it from a point where you are stressed because of maybe the future, something like that. Looking at it from that element, it can be positive stress and it can be negative stress at the same time, because you are stressing about something that is beyond your control. You don't have a control. But still at the same time, you have some element of control to it. So stress can be beneficial in the terms of you are thinking about what else can you do for your life to be able to progress your life, to be able to grow yourself as an individual in the future. So like stress activates your muscles to be able to think fast and think on what next you can be able to do, because sometimes without that stress, you'll be very complacent and you can be very comfortable in whatever that you are doing. But with the stress, it's like, what next? What else can I be able to do? And when your muscle is now stretched to a point where you're like, what is the next possible thing? Then you can be able to think. You can be able to think on the possible actions. So I believe stress can be helpful in that aspect, and it actually helps us to just leave our comfort zones. We are not saying that stress is sometimes stress is also not beneficial, but looking at it from a positive aspect, it just activates your brain muscles and you have to think on the ground.
That's really well put. For me, I would say yes, it might be beneficial, but I would incline more on it being so unbeneficial, because maybe from my own point of view, and the way we've said stress is relative, and our definitions and our opinions on stress is also different. From a point of what we defined earlier, if my mind is frustrated, if I'm not seeing anything clear, yes, as much as I have it's going to help me not be complacent. I won't be in a position to be calm enough to even try and now follow through with whatever I'm doing, because I'm looking at, if my mind is maybe foggy because of stress, if my mind is very unclear, I'm indecisive because of stress. Even the slightest opportunity I'll get at that point, yes, I might try to really work on it and maybe apply for that opportunity or do something to really get that opportunity. But at the end of the day, the level of productivity is going to be maybe slightly or way lower than if I was at a point where my mind is actually clear of frustrations and clear and not having this brain fog. Yes, but I totally agree with what you said. Like, it really helps in pushing you and allowing you not to be complacent, because even if you're worrying about the future, you're like, I need to maybe put in some work, do the work, and then leave the rest. Stop worrying about it. As long as you've put in the work, then I believe it's just going to turn out, and it's really important that you've brought it out that way.
Then maybe we can talk about how do we actually now manage this stress, because yes, there is the positive side of stress, there is the negative side of stress. So maybe we can talk about how we can manage the negative side of stress.
I would say for me, managing stress, first of all, for me, how I manage stress, sometimes I just allow myself to just be at that moment, to be stressed, to be vulnerable. If it's to cry, I just let me just cry and just rant. That really helps me to release the stress and to really manage. Or just sleep and not being disturbed for a long time. It helps me to manage this stress, because now normally I would wake up, or after I'm ranting and maybe I've cried, I would have a more clear mind, because I won't be maybe my mind or my decisions won't be based on the emotions, because sometimes we are feeling also so much frustration because also the kind of emotional impact that we are having from whatever is stressing us. If you're worrying about an opportunity in the future, you are not sure. That worry comes in your mind, and whatever it makes you feel, it brings some negative energy, and it makes you feel overwhelmed and just not okay, right? But if I'm in a position to rant it out, to release that emotion in the best way I can, some people do it in different ways, to release that emotion, then it helps me to actually now be in a positive environment, to actually now draw in more better emotion or better energy that would also help me in now staying clear and just being in a position to now do the next stage that I need to do. Yes,
I totally agree with you. And I'll just say, back to the basics. Let's understand why are we first of all stressed? Why are we stressed? Because we are stressed because of different reasons. And once we understand what those reasons are, then that is the time we can be able to actually be able to manage that. Because today you might be stressed about school, tomorrow you might be stressed about your relationship, the other day you might be stressed about, I don't know, what life has for you. So I believe, first of all, understanding what our stress triggers are is very important for us to be able to ensure which direction we will take after that. And then once we have identified the trigger, then we'll have to start now working on the trigger. But there are other general things. Now things like meditation, just to clear your mind out, to cleanse your mind, and just to bring you to a sober mindset, can also help you release stress and in the moment. And then after that, now you are in a state where you can easily think about the right next move that you can be able to take, and you can actually take that right move after you have done the detox in your mind and everything. And also something else that has really helped me is that I came to realize that most of the times we are super stressed because we are looking at the bigger goal. We are not breaking down our problems into small problems. So over time, what I've been trying to do is breaking down my stress triggers into small problems. So if I'm really frustrated, maybe thinking about what next, or like those kind of stresses,
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, why am I really stressed? Maybe I'm thinking about my future. Okay, thinking about your future is so broad.
Big, yeah.
So what is it in my capacity right now that I can be able to tap into to be able to get a solution or move out of this? Because I will definitely always be having this question of what about my future?
Yeah.
So breaking those stress triggers into very small chunks, I believe is what has helped me over time, because now it is easier to solve a problem one at a time, instead of looking at the big picture and it looks so big and massive. Yeah, and also just doing what I enjoy.
Oh,
Doing
wow.
what you enjoy is
What you
very
enjoy.
important.
That's really well put. Especially, I've loved the aspect of breaking these stress triggers into small things and tackling them small one at a time. It really helps because it removes the point of you being overwhelmed. And I think that can also just be tied to time management, because most of the time, sometimes you even feel frustrated because you feel like you don't have time. So many times you find people saying, oh, adulting is hard, we don't have time. I don't know how, but maybe you've just not slotted and prioritized your time in a way that you get to achieve your goals, and you've not prioritized your to-do list in accordance to urgency, you see. So you just find like you have everything everywhere that needs to be done then, and then you literally can't even start doing because it is all over. So we can tie that also to time management. Try and maybe slot your time, and in regards to maybe the to-do list or the work activities that you need to do, then you would feel that you're managing better your tasks, and also you're reducing the stress levels as well. And another thing that really works also for me, it's just exercise. Fitness plays a very big role, or just exercising plays a very big role in ensuring that your stress levels are really well managed, because sometimes it's also because your body is just like, your body is just it needs some activity to trigger at least you to feel good. And I believe even like you'd find the moment you're exercising, there's just something that you feel good about your body. Even your confidence goes up, you feel light, you just feel so nice about you as a person, you understand. And also it just clears your mind, because for me, I normally take it as like a challenge. Sometimes when I'm really stressed, I don't know if it's a very good thing to do. Maybe we'll get to know from our viewers, also the comment section. But for me, sometimes when I'm also very much stressed, I would try and do one of the hardest workouts that I normally want to do. It's like I'm forcing my mind to take on the challenge by force. And when I force it and I strive my way and do that exercise, or still maybe today I would do this exercise for 30 minutes and it's really intense, I feel like it's like I've boosted some mental energy and mental strength to my mind, and then I just feel like I feel better, because I'm like, then I can deal with the rest, That's how I look at it. So exercise really helps with also just ensuring that you manage your stress levels. And I think also nutrition.
Oh yes.
Nutrition and good sleep. Rest.
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes just recently is when I was listening to a podcast, the Magnify podcast conversations, and there was this guest who was saying sometimes burnout actually express, like, you find you definitely get stressed when you're also burnt out, but sometimes you don't realize that you're stressed in it, because maybe you might feel you have headaches, and then you're not you're grumpy, you don't want to see people, everyone is just no, you just don't want them in your space, but it's because you're burnt out and you're not resting. And resting does, this I realized recently. Resting does not just mean sleep. You can be asleep, but you're not resting. You're sleeping, but your mind is still active. Like, literally rest and just be like completely in it and let your mind not wander. Yes, that would help in also maintaining your stress level.
I really like that we are having this conversation,
Yeah.
and just helping young adults be able to know how to manage all these stress that comes with life and adulting. Because
Yes.
every day there is something that is just okay, let's not manifest stress, but in most times, like when we are still doing life, that is just, it's just like stress is part of life.
Yeah, it is.
So I really like that we are having these conversations, and because this is something that we have seen work in our lives.
Yes.
And I have seen it, whatever that you are saying, I have seen it in you, and how you've been able to overcome it. So I feel like it's important that even for young adults to take this in and actually implement whatever that we are actually talking about.
Yeah, that's very much true. And I just remembered another thing is maybe one can speak also to a professional to help them manage this stress. If you cannot rant and maybe journal out your thoughts and your feelings and how stressful you are, and just clear your head, download and clear your mail from your brain, you can maybe talk to a professional who would be the end person, or whoever can help you rant and just process your feelings and thoughts and stress. Yeah, that can also help manage your stress.
Yeah, it's very important because we are social beings, so we cannot live as isolated beings. And we can, like, as we are growing, there are very key stressors in our lives. Let's say work and relationships. Do you have something about these specific kind of stressors? Yeah,
I would say for work and relationships, it's basically relative. For work, I feel like just know your limits, and just know what you can't handle, and also be open to letting maybe your employer or your boss know that maybe this is something that is stressing you. Just a few days ago, I was also listening to someone, and she was saying there was a point she was really stressed, and she was really stressed with work. Actually, she was so stressed with work to the point that there's a time she literally was afraid of, I think she was late. She was literally afraid of going to the next stop, which was the right stop for her to alight and then get to the office, because she felt like she'd be more late. So she alighted at a stop before and literally removed her shoes to run to the office.
What?
So you can imagine this kind of environment, and she was already stressed and at work, and it got to a point where she said, like, she now came to a decision, and she gathered the courage to tell the boss, like, this is really stressing me out, and I know you need quality work, but I also, for me to produce that quality work, I also need this and this and this, and rest, and maybe these more days. Like, she now gave her terms and conditions afresh, so as to ensure that she manages her stress, she manages burnout, she just manages who she is as a person, so as to be also productive at work. So I would say, like, at work, I feel like knowing who you are and what you can handle is very important, because you don't want to get to a point whereby you come in at work and you just don't feel like waking up to go to that work, because as we've just said, that work, it's probably something that you've been praying for and manifesting for, and the moment you got it, it was like the best thing that could have ever happened to your life. So you don't want it to get to a point where you're now too familiar to not now acknowledge or be grateful for it. And this means that you will have to understand what your limits are, to the point that when things are getting out of hand, you can go and talk to maybe your seniors or your colleagues in situations that are not well with you. And another thing, maybe for work, it's also try and, I don't know for other people, but for me, I would rather focus on work at work and personal life with personal people. Like I would relate well with people so as to ensure that there's harmony in whichever thing you're doing, but also don't put so much emotional investment in people also there, because everyone there is there to work and get their money. So I don't know, I feel like maybe many people are of different opinions. Yes, workmates can also be family, and that's totally okay, but just know how to deal with people. Just ensure you have a good relationship with people even at work. It would help. And for the relationships, I would say it is good to understand maybe your partner. Do you people have capacity for each other? Do you people, are you people building each other? Or is it just always me as Eda, or me as Gertrude? I'm the one whose goals should be followed, or things like that? No. Do you people have capacity for each other? And also, as you guys are in that relationship, what are the expectations? Communicate, like have that communication, because I believe the biggest stressor in maybe a relationship would be like you people having very different expectations of each other, and maybe deep within you just know this person doesn't have a capacity for this one. For instance, you want someone who maybe is traveling every day of the week, or every weekend they have to travel, but you deep within you just want, every weekend you just want to sleep and rest. Do you guys have capacity for each other? Or even if you have these different diverse areas, what are your expectations in both of you being happy as individuals before coming together, maybe as maybe boyfriend and girlfriend, or just as being in a relationship? Do you people have capacity for each other? And what are the expectations? Communicate the expectations, because you've remembered what you said. One of the major thing is having expectations of something or someone, and then getting disappointed, and then later on start building resentment towards these people, or towards this organization which was to offer you that opportunity. And not because either of you is bad, but it's because maybe you guys had mismatched expectations. So I believe, like, with these stressors, you need to really identify that and just ensure that probably you work out something that works for you, or both of you, or you yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your take.
I totally agree with you, and I wouldn't want to dilute anything else.
Really?
Whatever that you have said.
Okay.
But what I will add is, because work and relationships, they are involving other people. And if we are involving other people, it begins with who we are as individuals. Like how we show up in the world will be determined, and how we show up in the world and how people treat us will be determined by how we ourselves show up in the world. So it begins with knowing our value and knowing our worth. Because if I'm showing up in work and in my relationships as this carefree person who doesn't care about their lives and everything, that is the same kind of energy that we're going to get from people.
Yeah.
So I I strongly believe it begins with knowing your worth and your value.
Yeah.
And then once you know that, you communicate that to the people who are around you, be it at work, be it your relationship partner, be it family relationships,
Yeah.
communicating that. And whatever that you portray as yourself, that is the same kind of energy that you are going to get. If you portray yourself as this diplomatic, somebody who takes care of themselves, there's high chances that you're not going to get these boundaryless people coming to you, talking to you anyhow. So
true.
I feel like I strongly believe it begins with how we show up in our environments with the people that we are with. And then now, whatever everything else that you have talked about comes in place, setting the boundaries, the expectations aspect, the communication, it always follows through. But without knowing our value, then we just show up in the world, and the world will teach us how to show up in the world. Yeah,
that is very well put. And I think just as we are almost getting to the end of the show, I would like us to also look at some specific positive effects or positive coping strategies for stress management. For instance, like motivation, what your tech is, or even mindful practices like meditation, what your tech is, and maybe you can just give us a practical way of how you you use maybe motivation or meditation in ensuring that you just manage your stress levels. Yes.
Yes, because once you have understood what your trigger is, then it is very easy to now know what the next step is.
Yeah.
So the triggers might be different in different circumstances. And might require different ways of actually managing those triggers for you to be able to come to maybe your sober mind and everything. So what I have seen work for me, number one, is listening to people. So if I have identified that maybe my stress trigger is something maybe relating to my health, I would Google something about the same. And for me, over time, getting to understand how things actually work have helped me reduce my stress.
Wow.
So if I know that it is a fact that when I do something, this is the end result, and I have already done that thing and I'm getting the result, then there is no other expected result that you are expecting to get.
True.
So once I get to a point where I understand that that was the expected result, then now it's like, okay, that is just a consequence of my action. So first of all, Googling and doing my research about what exactly is it that I am going through and finding solutions for that. From now, Google, and definitely listening to podcasts and just listening to people who have experienced it, because now we are in the digital era, so all the information is out there.
True.
Listening to those people and just filtering whatever I need, because there is a lot of garbage also in the digital space. So filtering and just getting to understand, what is this how things normally happen, or I'm just abnormal. Something else that has also helped me is meditation and doing yoga. It's and just doing a guided meditation. Now not myself listening to myself, because sometimes if I do the yoga or the meditation when I am in that sphere where I'm super stressed, I will continue it. I will continue thinking about that stressful event. So you can just be closing your eyes and listening to yourself, but you're actually thinking
replaying the problem.
Yes, exactly. So like using a guided yoga meditation, or just the normal meditation, doesn't have to be yoga. Using a guided one has also like really helped me a lot. And talking to people as well.
That's really nice. I think for me, what helps me a lot is motivation, actually. Motivation has really helped me a lot, and it's just the way you said. For me as well, I normally try to find out like why am I feeling this way? If I'm trying to understand this person, maybe I'm trying to understand why is Eda actually behaving this way, why is she reacting to situations in this way, or why am I reacting to how she reacted to me in this particular way. Trying to understand more and listening to people who have also just gone through these situations, because honestly right now there's a lot of information that you need on the internet, right? It helps me to really understand maybe the characteristics that are actually attached to someone, how someone behaves this way, or it might be as a result of this, or maybe you as a person needed to change. And it really helps you to gain insights, bits and bits of insights that you can be able now to fully compile and now just come up with a better conclusion. And also I loved what you said about you would get validation. It's not like you're trying to seek external validation, but you will get a confirmation that whatever you're feeling is actually okay. It's not like you're abnormal. The same thing as we've talked before about entrepreneurship. And I believe we were just conversing a few days ago, and we were talking about some of the things that probably we would have known in our entrepreneurship journey, we wouldn't probably be where we are right now. Maybe we would be further ahead, because maybe at that time we thought maybe if you fail, if in 3 6 months the business hasn't picked up, it cannot work, it is failure. But it's because we had not tried to expose ourselves and get this information from other people who have actually gone through this experience. And then you get to find that the people who have failed multiple times and for so many years, but there was this one time that they just still stayed consistent, and there was a breakthrough in whatever they were doing. So getting experience or this information from this motivation or people's experiences out there kind of confirms that you're actually not abnormal. If it's in your business, it shouldn't stress you. Of course, yes, it should give you the urge to work more and see areas that you failed and that need improvement, so that it can be lessons for the failure. But it shouldn't stop you from moving to the next stop, because people have been there, not one, not two. Several people have been there, but the difference is that they kept going and still made it. So it gives you that confirmation and validation that you just need to keep going. You understand? Yeah. So I loved how you brought it out. That was really powerful. And now just maybe a last word for our listeners. How would you maybe empower our listeners, and what coping strategies can our viewers develop in terms of stress management?
Be kind to yourself. Be kind. Kindness begins with you, and you also you show the world how you want them to treat you. So if the stress are mostly external to you, then you need to reassess yourself, because then there is no way every person is acting the same way to you, and you're getting the same kind of stress. Then there is something about you, because you are the main character here, and you're the main character in every person's other's life. So be kind to yourself when you are stressed, because stress is also part of life.
Yeah.
And even if you don't get a solution today, you might get that solution tomorrow. And stress sometimes can also cause anxiety. You need to know how to handle that anxiety. And anxiety always or mostly comes from delayed gratification. So it always goes back to be kind to yourself and just trust the process. Trust the process and just be comfortable in the process and enjoy what you are doing.
That's really nice. And for me, I would just add do what works for you. Like, you can pick a strategy that really would work for you and focus on your journey. Stress management is different. Just as Eda said at the beginning of the episode, stress is relative. Maybe whatever she is facing right now or I'm facing right now is something that it's not stressful to you, maybe because already you faced it before, or it's just you've just known how to manage such an issue or a problem. So just focus on your journey and stop comparing how you manage your stress with other people and other people's journeys.
Yes.
And be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Yes. And that has really been good.
And also, just one last thing, also be kind to other people. Because people are going through a lot out here
true.
that you really don't understand what they are going through. So if you can be that positive element in somebody's life today, do that. It's those small things that can actually help make somebody's day. So if you can be kind to other people, yes, be kind to yourself, but also be kind to other people, and be the light that the world just needs from you.
Yes, and make sure that you share this episode. You give us your comments of also your coping strategies and what you need us to discuss. And even if we need to get an expert on set, kindly let us know. Yes.
Yes, and definitely don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and continue commenting on the comment section. And also we would like to get to hear your questions that you would like us to tackle in our wrap segment and our highlights for the month.
And until next time,
bye-bye.